Turkish helicopter gunships are patrolling near the Iraqi border along with 100,000 troops ready to attack Kurdish fighters. Latest pictures from Sirnak in southeastern Turkey near the border with Iraq show supplies being flown into the 100,000 troops massed along the border. They've already attacked PKK fighters, but Washington and Baghdad are urging restraint. Turkey's foreign minister has been meeting with a top Iraqi delegation described as a last chance for diplomacy. As our correspondent Mike Hanna explains from Ankara.
The talks have been continuing throughout the day. A very senior Iraqi delegation holding discussions with senior Turkish ministers. Earlier on in the week, Iraq had pledged support for Turkey in its efforts to end the activities of the PKK across the Turkish border. During the course of the day, the Turkish government is hearing exactly what this help entails. Turkey is looking for the Iraqi government to take concrete steps in terms of isolating the PKK, in terms of cutting off their supply lines, in terms of physically shutting down whatever facilities they have, in terms perhaps as well of providing intelligence about the PKK activities in the north of Iraq. Perhaps as well the Turkish government is looking for some kind of strong military involvement from Iraq in terms of dealing with the PKK issue. But one thing that both parties are clear on too is that without direct US involvement in this process, it is going to be very difficult to implement. So therefore these talks are something of an ongoing nature. Early next week, the US Secretary of State will be arriving in Turkey for talks with the Turkish government, and this will be the one critical factor in terms of getting a three-state operation going in terms of dealing with the PKK issue, and that is Iraq, Turkey and the United States. But one must understand as well the immense domestic pressure that the Turkish government is facing. There have been strong public calls for a massive cross-border invasion to deal with the PKK issue. Although Turkey has continued limited operations across the border, it has exercised a degree of restraint and refrained from any mass cross-border operation that would seriously destabilize the north of Iraq. But that public pressure is immense. One has heard repeatedly in recent days the position that last year Israel had 2 soldiers captured. It launched a war into Lebanon with overt US support. Now Turkey has had 8 soldiers captured. It is being urged by the US to exercise restraint. It's a very difficult thing for the government to explain to the public that the long-term political benefits it is gaining from exercising this restraint is far greater than any short-term satisfaction of public demand for immediate and massive retaliation.
Now, the mainly Kurdish southeast of Turkey is awaiting developments, already battling unemployment and underinvestment. The Kurds now face the threat of military conflict on their doorstep. Laurence Lee reports from the Turkish town of Silopi on what the rising tensions mean for Kurds living close to the Iraqi border.
These are the hills and valleys of what some here have always dreamed will one day be a place called Kurdistan. But with the emergence of a new international coalition intent on destroying the separatists of the PKK, it all looks further away than ever. In the Kurdish towns here, life is hard enough without a military crisis on their doorstep. These are battered, forgotten-looking places, a world away from Ankara or Istanbul, and many, including the AK party which rules Turkey, believe that disrupting the PKK has as much to do with offering hope as it does killing gunmen.
These incidents will end only if there's big investment in the area, if factories are built. As you see all around us, the young people are unemployed. If they gave them opportunities to work, the rest would come easily.
There are some surprises here too. Expressions of what you might call Kurdishness, for so many years banned in Turkey, are accepted at least to a point, and it hardly looks as if people live in fear of an ethnic backlash. And here's a man who broke the mould, a Kurd who sees himself absolutely in the tradition of Ataturk, who organises political rallies of Kurds, expressing their devotion to the state of Turkey. In his world, it is the PKK man who is the traitor, and not him.
I don't believe the PKK represents Kurdish people. They kill Kurds as well. Even the Kurdish political party lost votes in the election. Why? Because our people are more aware now. Because they wish, instead of following these organizations, they want national unity and to share our resources.
Yet the PKK has proved itself stubborn. No question that some here are getting ready for a fight. So the fact is that things really aren't as black and white, as cut and dried in the Kurdish towns as you might think, and there are a variety of different opinions. It's by no means clear how much support the PKK actually enjoys here. And yet, because this is all about identity and ethnicity, there is certainly a section of the population here that feels that an attack on the PKK will really provoke rather than appease the Kurdish population. Here's another contradictory scene. A night of Kurdish song and dance, exactly the kind of event which would have been banned a decade ago, and which is the kind of thing the Kurds routinely complain that they're deprived of. The event organiser served almost a decade in jail for membership of the PKK, an accusation she still denies, and says it was only because of them that the Turkish state made these concessions. Here, this new conflict will only lead to more new recruits heading for the hills.
The PKK came from the Kurdish people. The war didn't start last year. It's been here for 20 years and 30,000 people died. Even then they couldn't finish the PKK. Because of this looming operation, the Kurds weren't united before. But now 3,000 Kurds from northern Iraq say they're going to join the PKK. It's wrong to try and exterminate them. They cannot do it. They have to find a democratic solution.
Exact conclusions from all this are hard to find, but recent history suggests that you can't blow up an ideology and that strong ethnic ties are impossible to break, and that Kurds are nothing if not united. Laurence Lee, Al Jazeera, on the Turkey-Iraq border.
While Turkey considers how far it should go in its action against Kurdish fighters, it looks set to escape sanction over a controversial piece of its past. The US Congress has backed away from a resolution labelling as genocide the death of hundreds of thousands of Armenians who died under Ottoman rule as the First World War began. Those behind the bill have shelved efforts to put it to a vote in the US House of Representatives after support for the measure dropped away. The bill had provoked sharp criticism from Turkey. It withdrew its ambassador in protest and warned of grave damage to ties with one of the US's key regional allies.